is meant to, again, encourage you to go against the grain, to face your fears, to stand up against what's happening. Mm-hmm. This isn't a bad thing, what we're saying. It's actually a great thing, because you know what the Achilles heel of every human on the planet is. And there's about 5% that are standing out, and they're probably already millionaires in your market. And if you ask them, they stuck to a strategy. They put in the work. They plan, do, check, act. Plan, do, check, act. And it's working out for them, guaranteed. That's how you master your sales. That's how you get your pricing and your value articulation right. And that's how you deliver premium level service. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Electricpreneur Secrets, the Electricians podcast. We're back with episode 180, Premium Service Victories, making it work for you. I'm your host, Clay Newmeyer, also known as the Pleasant Peasant, joined by my esteemed co-host. I'm going the wrong way here, Joe. There we go.
It's okay. People, if they're listening, they can't see it.
Joseph, the sales bot Lucani. If you're only listening and you can't see us, just ignore what you just heard. It's just me pointing in the wrong direction due to some Zoom features, or in this case, StreamYard. But if you're with us live in the Facebook group, we've got one hell of a show for you today, as we're talking a little bit deeper on this big, bold strategy, embracing premium service and building up victories in your marketplace and making this work for you at another level, and a little bit of what not to do. There's a teensy-weensy ounce of what not to do today, Joe. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I was going to say we had an absolute awesome class this morning that I'm still carrying the momentum from. It's awesome when you start the day right. You know, I was on the treadmill this morning. I was able to lift. I was able to have my spiritual time. The day went well, and it's not even close to being over, but I'm just loving the energy and the momentum we've built.
Awesome, man. I didn't get to attend that class. Can you give away a nugget? What did we work on today?
Actually, I would love to. In fact, it actually ties in perfectly with what we're going to talk about today.
Awesome.
Because, and we can go more into detail later as we go, but we were talking about mindset shifts and also different techniques from other styles of not just selling, but just of being that you can apply towards this. So one of the big takeaways was we were teaching breathing exercises to overcome anxiety when you're doing presentations. And the best thing was I remember Ben, who, dude, I love you, man. Ben is awesome. He literally came in and was like, who would have thought we would have learned breathing exercises from an electrical training? This is awesome.
And we might have some listeners right now that are not pumped about that at all. Doesn't sound sexy, right? No one goes into sales training hoping to learn how to breathe better.
But I can tell you why it's going to matter.
Okay, please do.
So when you're in that presentation moment, we've all been there where you got that sink in the middle of your stomach, where things are physically low and your throat gets dry and you're trying to figure out how to unpart yourself and you're figuring out, what do I do with my hands? We've all been in that place, right? But if you understand that how you breathe is how you think, and how you think is how you act, and how you act is how your habits are built, then what you realize is that if you want to fix one thing, you start at the beginning of it. Change your inputs to change your outputs, right? So our focus for today, as we were going into it, was, all right, you're in this presentation. You know your process. You know the words you're supposed to say, but it doesn't matter if you knew the words if you don't articulate them with authenticity or with, the right kind of energy. So taking it actually back and going and saying, if we can set your breathing the right way, you'll actually be in a better place to communicate more authentically. And if that's the case, your clients are going to want to move forward because you're not coming across as a salesperson. You're coming across as a person. All because of the breathing in the beginning. Granted, it was a longer lesson on the nuances and the subtleties that go into it.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal was everyone can use this in any part of your life, not just in sales.
And here's the reality from this standpoint. If I can just say, there's some aspects of this that, as we already covered, are not that sexy. Learning how to breathe, not that sexy. Doing yoga, not that sexy. Well, it depends who's doing it. You get the point I'm saying, but we've all been in these moments where you're engaging in a presentation, engaging with a client, and we get lost. Maybe they get us off track a bit. We fall off the process, or maybe we meet that personality that reminds us of our abusive dad or an alcoholic we dealt with in the past, or something gets you off. And next thing you know, your heart beats and your palms sweat and your voice shakes. I imagine an exercise like that's pretty important at a time like that.
It was. And the main thing is that we like to teach from a place of autopilot. If you can understand the process to such an extent that you can do it without having to read a script, that's a place of true authenticity because you're speaking from the heart, but you're following the framework. What we're allowing to be done is simply saying, when you recognize that you're having these physical sensations of either anxiety or overwhelm, those are places that people don't want to stay. And they often, remember you actually mentioned just the other day, you taught me about the Halt method. It's like, when do you usually slip from yourself?
Right.
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
100%.
If you could create something that intercepts that says, when I'm feeling this, instead of doing that, I do something healthier instead, that grounds me and focuses me.
Yeah.
I think that person could be way more successful than someone who hops up on caffeine and nicotine and just goes for it.
Oh, definitely. And we're opening a big can of worms here, but at the highest level of sales, sales team leadership, sales management, sales development, you have to acknowledge that what goes on in a person's life is directly related to what goes on in that presentation.
Exactly.
In that sales process. So even things like, well, typically I get 7.5 hours sleep, but this week I've been getting 6 3/4. Last night I got 5.5. Well, why? Is everything okay? Anything that's not okay, even that shortage may have led to the extra coffee in the morning. Would that impact your presentation?
It would. I mean, if you think about it, caffeine is no different than any other tool. I've abused it. There were times when I remember I was working nights, I would drink a pot of coffee a day that was brewed with leftover coffee. Like, as you sip a cup of coffee, right?
Actually, Joe, I'm making a statement right now. What you just imagined was me sipping a cup of coffee, but what you actually saw was me sipping a glass of water. I resisted the second cup of coffee, but put it in my coffee cup to have the effect all the same.
Okay. Well, it's similar to me going to decaf. Everyone knows I have this giant purple mug, but there's only like 4 ounces of caffeine in it. Everything else is just 12 ounces of decaf. But anyway, we're getting off topic. The point was that when you have these circumstances that come up, it's foolish to just say, I won't be in that place. And it's more effective to simply say, when I'm in that place, I now have coping strategies that I can use that will allow me to get back onto process.
100%. And I'll sum up everything that we've kind of talked about by just saying this. If you're not in control at home, if you're not in control at the office, if you're not in control before you get in the van and go to deliver a presentation, you're not going to be in control there either.
Agreed.
It's a sad reality. That big mirror, right? Edwin's here. Edwin, love you, brother. Thanks for joining us.
Edwin.
Leading service with a smile. Absolutely, man. And you know what? It's hard to smile when you feel the shits. It's not good. It's not good at all. Let's talk about some other areas where we can get distracted from delivering that A1 service and really nailing this down. That was not a Tommy Mello plug there when I said A1.
I was wondering, I was going to say.
Yeah. Apparently that's become synonymous with great service. I got to check myself on this one. There's something else that people do, and we've covered this in a number of situations actually, but I just experienced this again recently, so I wanted to bring it up. What we offer in our Inside Track, and what every coaching program offers, and every strategy under the planet offers and attempts to do, is have you follow a strategy to accomplish a goal. Typically, it's like, well, we recognize there's a gap, maybe a pain and a want. And the gap is what's between. You follow me so far?
I got you.
Typically, there's a strategy to help us get from pain to desire, right? New outcome. And the kind of infection, the virus that humans have is that we're addicted to finding strategies and we have a really difficult time exercising strategies.
Yes.
Have you seen this before, Joe?
I mean, in our own personal lives and the lives of people we coach and the people in the past I've worked with. Yeah. Because the biggest problem is that there's almost a psychological reward from finding the strategy. If you think about it, like, let's say you're looking for something like, I'm trying to figure out how my CSRs can answer the phone better, right? And they're dropping calls or doing this, whatever it is the issue. And then suddenly you find online, hey, there's a course that you can send your CSRs to. Just finding that course and clicking the link to say, I'm going to learn more about it, already produces the dopamine that says, I'm getting where I want to be. This is it. This is what I got to do. You swipe the card. That's another dopamine rush. People are like, yes, I'm getting closer to it. The book arrives. It's there in your lap. You're like, yes, I can do this. But now the book's there. You got to pick it up and you got to read it. But even if you read it, that doesn't mean that the book that you don't take action on is not going to change your life. So the fact is that if you're not willing to take action on the thing you read, you just took cash and threw it away.
100%, man. In fact, to stay with the percentages, I've got a bookshelf behind me that you can't see. It would be out the window otherwise here in our little office. But on that bookshelf is mostly filled with books that say the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean the same thing as in they teach the same strategy, but they say the same thing as in when you get to the end of a chapter, they say, stop. Stop here and take action.
Mm-hmm.
Stop here and take action. I can't say that with any more emphasis without yelling into the mic right now, Joe. 1% do it. 1% stop and take action.
Mm-hmm.
99% look for the next shiny thing. In this case, it's chapter 2. In other cases, it's the next book. In other cases, it's whatever came up on the Facebook feed today. In other cases, it might even be us. Go ahead, brother. I saw your hand up. Jump in.
Yeah, no, it actually lines up perfectly with why people go to training events so much, why they go to conferences, because the conference is a place that you can get the relief of, there's a solution. But then you sit there, you had a couple drinks, you're surrounded by your peers, you're learning a little bit, you're in another state, and now you're out of your comfort zone. You got all the fix you quote unquote wanted, and now you have the tools in your hand of all the notes you took. But now it's up to you to get back to your shop on Monday morning and start implementing. People don't want to start implementing. They'd rather find the key and not put it in the door, because it's more emotionally valuable to hold the key than it is to put in the work to turn the knob.
100%. Justin's with us, getting vulnerable. Sounds like me. I get it, brother. Here's the trouble. Just as we're saying, if you jumped on Google right now and searched how to improve small sales in my small business, you'll get 3.5 billion results in half a second.
Mm-hmm.
We love to find the answers. We're humans. Look how far we've come. We were joking yesterday about how 20 years ago, about 20 years. No, let me go back. 30 years ago, I'm dating myself. This is getting crazy. 30 years ago, I was getting a smack upside the back of the head to go back to the TV and hold the bunny ears up for my mom to tune to channel 13 so she could get the news. Anyone else ever experienced this?
I remember I was the remote at sometimes. There was a dial to turn and you had to turn it.
This is crazy, right? There's been so much change. And the reason is that we're like complex things, these beings that just continue to just drive this down in front. Justin says that's funny. We're driving this change all the time, and there's so many strategies for it. But few are the ones who can actually do the work, who can actually follow the strategy. That's why leadership's so important. If you really think about it, if we got 3.5 billion answers to your problem, how to increase sales in your small business, might be a reason you're here today. And we know they all work to some degree. Then what's missing?
Telling someone to tell you which one to start first.
Just the consistent action, knowing where to start. It's overwhelmed just from strategy. And here's what we know for sure. In our program, we see absolute results from absolute efforts. Right? We used to say there's actually only 3 outcomes here. And I say used to, I'm giving this past tense. take the actions just as we laid them out and you succeed. You don't take the actions just as we laid them out and you don't succeed. There used to be this third one. Take the actions and you don't see the results you want. And we'll work our fucking asses off to get it there because we care that much about making sure everyone succeeds. Except we just haven't had that problem, so I'm eliminating it.
Yeah. I mean, we'll still honor that guarantee, but so far no one's had to use it.
The same is with the book you're reading. If you're reading Geno Traction, then take action on every chapter and look at it. If you take those actions, you'll see those results. But if you're reading Traction and $100 million offers and you blend the two, and then you also listen to Tommy Mello Elevate and you throw a strategy in there, and then you also listen, you know what I mean? Now you've got this big, mixed up, bastardized, unproven thing going on. And the problem is we never took full action on what was right in front of us. And this is a huge problem. It's a huge problem for you listening, watching. It's a huge problem for Joe right beside me. It's a huge problem for me. We've all got to be reminded of this because the human thing, especially in this age of marketing, where, as we said, you probably got a notification 8 times since you've been listening to us. And hopefully we've been able to hold you here to listen to this, hear this, and change your life and make premium service work for you.
Mm-hmm.
If all you did was what the right connection did, our clients of the week, this big value that we're giving away even today, their secrets, how they made it work for them and double their revenue in essentially 5 weeks. If all you did is have that level of immersion, that level of conviction with people like us, I'm not even saying us, I don't care. Go somewhere else if that's what fits you. If we're a fit, perfect. Reach out. Let's talk. If we're not, don't waste our time. Don't waste yours. Go somewhere else. But if you know of a strategy that works, get immersed in it, because that's what they did. And what followed was this belief shift. And that belief shift is going to be necessary to hold you in it at the highest level so that you can serve yours at the highest level. That makes sense, Joe?
I love what you're dropping here, man. That was a good point.
Oh my goodness, such a heavy thing. I just want to say this. Sometimes it feels like I'm harping or preaching, or, it's like there's a downward energy almost. And I don't want it to be that. This is meant to, again, encourage you to go against the grain, to face your fears, to stand up against what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a bad thing, what we're saying. It's actually a great thing, because you know what the Achilles heel of every human on the planet is. And there's about 5% that are standing out, and they're probably already millionaires in your market. And if you ask them, they stuck to a strategy. They put in the work. They plan, do, check, act. Plan, do, check, act. And it's working out for them, guaranteed. That's how you master your sales. That's how you get your pricing and your value articulation right. And that's how you deliver premium level service. It's just a full immersion, commit to this one path, and dive straight in. Did I monologue too much today? I feel like this turned into a fucking monologue, man.
Yes and no, because yes, you're talking, but at the same time, if what you're saying is important and relevant and on point, then why wouldn't you continue it? There's no reason for me to interrupt just so my voice is heard. If you're saying things like, this is not a Joe and Clay thing, this is the people we're talking to. And what you're giving, I personally believe, is valuable. I believe everything that we're doing is valuable. And that's why we're so committed to this. So monologue or not, it's valuable. People just pick up the money. It's on the floor. Just pick it up and take action with it. That's how to sum this up. So monologue or not, man, it's been good. It's been real good.
Well, I appreciate that. It's proof again that, we don't have a plan for these. Really, we name it. We know generally what we're talking about, and then we show up and just give it all we've got every time. And sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's like this, where I'm like, you know what? This might be one of the best. Like, if people could really solve something, if one person could take something from us if you solved this problem, you'd probably succeed at a much, much higher level.
Mm-hmm.
Is diving right in, sticking to a process, getting everything you can out of it, and working through it that way. And it's the plan, do, check, act after that. Then work on the next steps. Then find out your next strategy. But that it's almost like decision fatigue amongst the millions of strategies, billions of strategies that are everywhere right now.
Well, why do you think it's so important that we make sure that we picked out our clothes the day before? Or when we say in our pre-arrival process that we have a spare uniform, or that we've reviewed the process, or that we've gone through and reviewed the customer's name, why we role play so much? Decision fatigue is a real problem. And it's not just a business problem, it's a people problem. When you're so focused on, I need to figure all these things, when you first wake up in the morning and you've got a pile of things you got to make decisions on, you're exhausted before you've even clocked in. So yeah, decision fatigue is also a thing. But what we teach is we give you a framework that you can roll the ball with and know that there's bumpers to catch you. You just need to follow the play. The decision fatigue doesn't have to come into play here because we've already created stopping points. Not only, as you've learned, we'll teach you how to keep your mindset, teach you how to breathe, teach you how to get your body and your mind and your spirit healthy, learn a process that allows you to be guided, that you can replicate and teach your team, and then how to rinse and repeat it. You just got to take the actions. We're literally giving you the golden book. Just pick it up, read it, and then do something with it. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're going to have the same stuff that you had before you read the book with nothing changed except for the price of the book you bought.
Boom. Reminds me of Jim Rohn. If you will change, everything will change for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Value packed. Let's crank out a couple of action items, amp the energy up for a little bit. Guillaume getting vulnerable with us, decision fatigue victim, me as well, Joe as well. Everyone in here has fallen victim to this, Guillaume. So thank you for doing that, brother. Good to see you in here and have you listening, by the way. Joe, do you want the action or the all-star?
I want the all-star because I want to tell people exactly what I do to overcome decision fatigue.
Okay. Well, here's the action then. On a big episode like this, here's a big foundational action. We know what worked for Eric and Mandy. We know what worked for the Right Connection, their little company there, to be doubling their revenue already in 5 weeks of working with us. It was simple 3 steps. But that first step was massive. And it's that full immersion, jump right in. Remember, they almost didn't do it. Just like you, they almost didn't do this. They almost didn't take the next step, or maybe you haven't made that decision yet. Whatever it is that you're almost not doing, decide to take action and do it, and use the full immersion approach, and it'll shift your beliefs. And what will become of you is what will become of that new belief. Is the action you take will be the size of the result that you see. It's that simple. And everything will follow, just like for them. Their step 2 was like, hey, now that our beliefs are different, holy fuck, we got a gap here we got to fill. There's people that need more from us that we haven't been giving them everything. Now that we believe what we are is different, we serve at a higher level. I know this is a bit like base action, but I couldn't be more passionate about this one, Joe.
I agree. And it's something that we should be passionate about. We're literally trying to take the handcuffs off people. But the funny thing is they're the ones who put the handcuffs on in the first place. So getting someone to admit that you put yourself in a situation that only you can get yourself out of, but you've got to first believe the handcuffs are real. If you don't believe they're real, you'll never want to take them off. It's too comfortable.
Yeah. My first coach used to say, I help people out of the prison they don't know they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, set us up with the all-star. Let's finish this up in under 25 if we can. That gives us about 90 seconds, Joe.
I'll do what I can. All right. So if you want to get, how to do this in 90 seconds. Okay. So
if you went 180, I wouldn't be mad.
Thank you.
Add a little pressure there.
No worries. Okay. So I suffer from decision fatigue in a big way. Being on the spectrum, everything is very black and white, and it's a strength and it's a curse, and I love it and I hate it. It is what it is. But I've learned to use it as a tool. And what I found worked best for me is literally sitting down and mapping out every decision you typically make during a day. Now, that sounds a little too intense, so let me just give you an explanation of what I mean. Break your day into 4 quadrants. Morning is the first one you have to start with. That's all I'm asking for today. What time are you waking up? What are you going to wear that day? What are you going to have for breakfast? How are you going to get your kids out for school? Or how are you going to take care of your spouse? Where are you going to drive? What time are you going to leave the house? How much sleep did you get the night before? All these things, if you didn't know them and you had to plan them the moment you woke up, I know by 7 o'clock, you're already going to be in the wrong place. And being in that place means that when you meet your first customer, yeah, I can see powering out the morning cigarette. I was that guy. I can see going through it and having a pack done by the afternoon, or having your third big gulp coffee, or the big sodas you get from Quick Check, right? So instead, I want to back it up and simply say, if you can plan out those small steps, you're building what's known as mental equity, meaning that you're saving that equity to spend on the things that matter. So instead of thinking, do I want the blue socks or the gray socks? Fuck that, you're done. You're figuring that energy goes to, how can I get this customer to see the value that I'm trying to communicate? How can I save all the energy I built in the morning and power it through right now? So summing up this action assignment, just start with the morning. The first 2 hours of you being awake. What are the things you need to do in order to make sure that you can build that equity rather than having to waste it on the things that you know aren't going to matter?
Joe, that might have been the best, biggest all-star action that you've given, man. You've given some absolute fire, but that one is just oh my God, I can't underline, bold, italicize, highlight, fucking throw it on a plane and fly it out the window high enough in the sky for people to read that and hear that and feel that over and over and over. How many of us are just already by 7 a.m. in a reactive state for our whole fucking day, trying to just recuperate, trying to collect ourselves at a door, needing the breathing exercise you were talking about earlier, just to try and have a decent presentation with someone you truly want to help, but you just didn't even show up at your best to be able to do it.
It's rough. It really, really is. And the sad thing is, for a lot of people, it's why we turn to substances. It's why we get into unhealthy behaviors. It's why we do a lot of things that we don't want to do, but feel we have to do. And if we can just change one life listening to this, just one, to a lot of people listening, I just want one person to take action and improve on this. If you can do that, this was worth the wait.
100%. Holy shit, man. Listen, if this didn't help you guys master your sales, simplify your pricing, and deliver premium level electrical service, go ahead and reach out to me. I want to pay you for your 27 minutes of time, because holy fuck, that was impactful. If you guys took action on this, if you truly heard what we said today, if you truly moved forward with some of this advice, these action and all-star actions, you would change a life, yours and the clients that just hired you to serve them at the highest level. So please, take everything we give, just promise to take action, and come back tomorrow for more. And come on our Facebook page and grab the action post today, that value piece with right connections, top 3 circuits to making premium service, help them double their revenue in just 5 weeks. Guys, 180 episodes. I cannot believe this. Joe, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thanks if you're watching, everyone. We'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Electricpreneur Secrets.
Namaskaram.